Drawing in the background you may recognise from my previous video, and I said I was going to paint it in gouache, so that's what I'll be doing. Now I thought this was going to be very straightforward, very minimal effort, and it'll be something that I could just pick up and, do without any worries. Boy, was I wrong. So I picked the cheapest gouache up because I didn't really want to waste loads of money just getting into something, and just basically went at it. Quickly drew a portrait, as you saw in the last video, and started just backing it on. Initially I used it like watercolour, as I've had experience with watercolour. However, it's different to watercolour in the sense of it reacts more easily to water. So I could show a clip about that later. So if you introduce water or a more wet paint, if that makes sense, a watered down paint, it can reactivate the layers underneath, causing it to bleed and blend through. Something I found out and continue to find out during this process. Also, it's very more intense with the pigment, where watercolours it can be intense if you use a lot of it, but this you just need a little bit, and it's got a lot more pigment in, basically. Also, I found that the tones and the values are completely different when dry. So that was another factor I had to try and work in, and I just made a mess of everything. This one in now you see is basically me doing a second attempt. Quickly banged a drawing out and continued the same method. Went lighter, let it dry a bit, and then add more pigment on top. It worked. Not too much blending, not too much rubbing. Kind of worked. It was a bit too small. You see here that I'm just demonstrating that this is just water. There's no paint on this brush, and it just reactivates it, and it just makes a mess. So I was getting muddy colours. I wasn't blending correctly. It was very hard for me to keep the colour I wanted, and also it picking up other colours introduced it to the palette, and me being colourblind, it's very, very difficult to spot those changes. So, third attempt, I thought I'd do a bigger portrait. These are the same cheap nasty paints, and I thought this is bound to go well. I've had two kind of failures, so hopefully this is the one. However, I found out that it is not. The details in the drawings are pretty good. It's pretty accurate to the source. However, yeah, getting paint in, it just completely ruined it. I was moving lines, shifting about, and I just wasn't confident with the medium. So what everyone does, what I do anyway, is I blame the tools. Well, it's not my fault, how could it be? So I blame the tools. So I went on Amazon and got some arguably better gouache, perhaps? Don't know. I got some new gouache, some more expensive ones, some good reviews, and hopefully that works. Joking aside, it's not the tools, it's the user error, and I just wanted to see if another batch of paints, another brand, slightly more expensive, will have a different user experience. There's more pigment in it, if it's less reactive, more reactive to water, so I just wanted to give it a go. So, like I said, I went to Amazon, bought these for about 15 quid, around that. I think they're called jelly gouaches. I like them because I don't like squeezing stuff out like this at tubes, watercolour palettes. I normally have pans, so I thought I'd give these a go. Came with a handy colour chart, which I very much needed, as a lot of the greens and the blacks will all blend in for me. If they didn't have labels, I would have probably painted something green instead of black. Anyway, this is it. Nothing like jelly, it was just like paint squirted into a pot, really. That's it. So hopefully I'll give these a try, and hopefully have different results, for better or worse. So I banged out another 3 quick portraits just to test these new gouaches. Immediately I found the consistency better. I'm not sure about the pigment intensity, however, I just overall they was slightly better in my opinion. However, the most valuable thing was the experience from the previous ones, and hopefully I can carry these onto these ones and what to do, what not to do. For this first one, I wanted to apply the paint pretty much like you would paint by numbers. So one area at a time, take your time, go around, and maybe a little blend in here and there. The main problem I had was as soon as the paint dried, it became it shifted, visually shifted in the intensity of the paint. And I struggled a bit for this. I kind of got on top of it a bit, worked it up. It's not a massive, difficult thing to overcome. However, it's very jarring at first, and it took me a bit of time to get used to it. The second one, I was a lot more confident. It went pretty well. The hair was a bit of a challenge due to, like I say, the blending and all that. So I just basically gave up at that point. It was done. It looked all right for a quick sketch. Nothing wrong. Now the third one is where it really came together for me. And taking lessons from previous failed attempts, I got to work. There was cases where I didn't get dot paint in the skin tones, and that was just a bugger. It's very hard to get a splodge of black from a very bright area with gouache. So yeah, it might be a bit off at one area. I'm not sure where I did it now, but it might show up. Anyway, so it's best not to, accidentally get paint or pick up paint on your brush without realising. I did that a few times. A little tiny bit of black it will ruin your day, especially doing highlights of skins and different tonals. Anyway, it came out good. Really enjoyed the third one. It was coming together. I think I was getting the ratio water to gouache pretty much down, and yeah, it worked. So hopefully this will be a new medium I can use in my sketchbook and help me better design bigger paintings and move on from there. Once I had a few more goes, I might do a more in-depth video, go over the pros and cons on that. So yeah,